delegates continue to make their way into this conference, you would know that the voting of those, the results are expected to be announced soon, because you'd know that the counting of those votes did get underway early this morning, with some only even concluding the voting process early this morning, Koli. But of course, you would know once voting delegates have made their way inside here, a number of them have been, chanting slogans like "Uyabuya," and others even saying "Agabuyi." It's a very interesting conference, Koli. When you look at how long it took for this conference to get underway, when you look at those disputes, it's still not clear. Everybody's in a cheerful mood. Just earlier on this morning, I also spotted Oscar Mabuya, and he was also vying for the position of chairperson in this province. Quite cheerful, quite happy, a number of them saying that "Uyabuya." But, it remains to be seen if indeed he will be coming back, and whether or not Matikizela will also be taking that top spot in this province of chairperson. But just to give us a bit more insight, Koli, in terms of how far are they when it comes to the counting of those votes, we are joined by Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. She is indeed the head of communications for the PTT here in this province, in the ANC. You went to vote quite early this morning, and I understand that, that voting process only finished a few hours ago. How far are you when it comes to counting those votes?
Well, the last batch that went for voting were left around 8 after 8, and then the team started counting, but now they are done with counting. The only thing now that we need to do is to make sure that we go and receive the financial report from our provincial treasurer, Comrade Babalo Matikizela, and after that we are going for the announcement of the results, which is what you guys are all looking forward to.
Stella, there was threats of halting this conference and collapsing it just in the early hours of this morning, and of course we finally saw those credentials being adopted. As a PTT, I'm sure you're quite impressed and quite happy that there is finally some movement when it comes to this conference.
Well, this is something that indeed we're really excited, and want to thank the ANC delegates for again putting the ANC first, because no matter what we do or who we want, but at the center of it is the ANC that must remain a victor in everything that we do. And therefore the delegates, after engagements and lots of explanations that they were given, indeed they all agreed that there's a need for us to proceed with conference. And for that we remain indebted to them, because these are the people that make the conference. We come here as PTT, as you know, that it's temporal, but these are the people that make the work of the ANC continue, and therefore the membership of the ANC that makes the ANC to be alive again.
How difficult was it for you to carry out this process 3 days later? It had to be extended by just another day to ensure that indeed voting is indeed seen in this conference, and we can indeed see a top 5 leadership being voted in. It must have been a very difficult task. I mean, as the media, we really have been on your case as the PTT, who were responsible for ensuring that this conference sees its leadership being voted in.
Well, it was very difficult, as you can anticipate, but what kept us alive and having hope and faith was the fact that everybody has agreed that what happened in 2017 really left a bad taste in everybody's mouth, and we do not want to be a province that is known all the time that must have controversy. But Eastern Cape is a very unique province. It doesn't happen in all other provinces where you see robust engagement and wherein we're able to relate very well with each other, even when we're contesting each other. It is something that we grew up with, that other people think that is foreign, because if you go to other areas, once you begin to contest, then you become enemies, and this is something that the Eastern Cape does not do. Contestation is seen as a healthy democratic process. That's why we had confidence that comrades understand that, but at the center of it was to say, how do we make sure that nobody again finds joy in saying Eastern Cape ANC is the one that does not belong to the ANC or to lead this country. The delegates took charge of their conference and made sure that they do the right thing, bringing back the integrity of the ANC in this province.
Of course, what else can we expect in terms of the program today? Are we expecting President Ramaphosa to still close this conference?
Well, after the announcement of the results of the top 5, again nominations for the additionals, and then the delegates will go for commissions, And at 3 o'clock, we'll have the president of the ANC, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, coming to address the conference.
All right, thank you very much. Of course, Xoli, that is Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. She is the head of communications for the PTT, who were responsible for carrying out this conference. I'm also going to bring in the convener here of Mr. Motsoaledi, the convener of the ANC's the ANC here, an NEC deployee who was deployed to carry out this conference. It is Aaron Motsoaledi. I'm sure where you are right now, Mr. Motsoaledi, you are quite pleased to see the progress in which we have seen now. The voting did get underway. We are expecting those results to be announced this morning.
Indeed, I'm relieved. It was very tough, especially chairing that marathon session, which was supposed to adopt credentials. It was very tough, and yes, I'm relieved that eventually everything is on course.
When it came to the disputes which were the stumbling block, how did you ensure that is a process that you will indeed be able to iron out? You know, during the early hours of this morning, it seemed as if you were not winning when it came to your delegates trying to adopt those credentials. You know, eventually they were, but how were you able to ensure that this conference does indeed get underway?
Yeah, well, we had to use experience. We had to listen. That's why at some stages we listen to no less than 35 speakers, one at a time. And some of them refusing when you tell them their time of speaking is up, getting very emotional. But we allow them to ventilate and put things on the table and honestly answer to those things. Now remember that ANC has experienced this type of things long ago. That's why we added Appendix 4 to the Constitution, which established a provincial dispute resolution committee and a national dispute resolution committee. We established a principle that the National Dispute Resolution Committee is the last appeal body. Beyond it, you can't go beyond that. And we're trying to impress it on the conference that once the National Dispute Resolution Committee has ruled, we've got to follow it. I, as the chairperson of the steering committee and the convener of the NEC deployees, I'm not the last person of appeal in terms of disputes, because some of these are technical. The Dispute Resolution Committee is empowered to do that, and I also allow them to speak to the conference directly, to tell them what they've done, so that they will realize that there was nothing untoward in how the disputes were settled.
There was a lot of consultations being done, there was a lot of breaks where you had to go into your committees to go and discuss some of the issues being raised. How important was it to ensure that you do indeed carry out a credible conference?
Well, it was very important because, for instance, take the conference steering committee. It consists of all the NEC members who are deployed here, and also the provincial convener and coordinator, the former chairperson and former secretary, and also the chairpersons of regions. It's important to pull them along, so when you say we have agreed on something, all the 8 regions realize that they were represented. Then we have got the credentials committee, which consists of secretaries. After the steering committee meeting has agreed, I had to call the secretaries, the regional secretaries, and say, this is what we agreed on, gentlemen and ladies. We're taking it to the conference, and please tell me if you are against something, so that when we arrive at the conference, they must know that this is an agreement in a meeting in which they were fully represented.
Thank you very much. Of course, that is Aaron Motsoaledi. He is an NEC deployee and the convener for this conference.